You brew a cup of hot tea, stir in a spoonful of honey, and imagine spring fields and gentle bees drifting through the air. But reality isn't that poetic. What's dissolving in your cup is actually a sterile dead zone, a place where most microorganisms that enter never find a way back out. You heard that right. Every drop of honey is a carefully engineered chemical trap, packed with acids and natural antiseptics. It isn't gentle, it's precise. And if something unlucky falls into it, it gets handled as efficiently as a mosquito hitting an electric grid. Let me ruin the romance with science. We like to say bees collect honey. Sounds beautiful, almost poetic. But the truth is far rougher. Bees don't collect honey. They manufacture it inside a mobile biological factory, their own bodies. Imagine holding a bottle filled with complex sugary liquid. The sugar in nectar is mostly sucrose, long molecular chains, like endless rows of Lego bricks. Bees suck up this liquid, but instead of keeping it unchanged, they inject an enzyme called invertase. Think of invertase as a microscopic pair of chemical scissors. It has no steel blades, yet it slices molecular bonds apart. Long sucrose chains are cut into two smaller pieces, glucose and fructose. Smaller fragments, easier to manage, completely different properties. And this is where things start to get strange. When you split a large molecule into smaller ones, you don't just change its size, you change how it interacts with water, bacteria, and even time itself. Simple sugars attract water more easily and form much more concentrated solutions. But reality doesn't stop there. At this stage, nectar still contains about 80% water. That's paradise for microbes. Leave it alone, and it will ferment and bubble like a forgotten bottle of juice in a kitchen corner. The bee's biological factory has only finished step one. The hard work is still ahead. Picture yourself standing in front of a swimming pool, tasked with drying it completely. No pumps, no industrial dryers, just a handheld paper fan. Sounds ridiculous. That's exactly what bees do. Thousands of bees line up inside the hive, beating their wings in perfect coordination not to fly, but to create a massive ventilation system. Air flows continuously through the hive, pulling water vapor away from the nectar. As water evaporates, the liquid thickens. From roughly 80% water, bees drive it down to below 18%. That number isn't random. Below that threshold, most microorganisms cannot reproduce. Above it, the hive risks turning into an accidental brewery. You might think they're just drying it, but consider the intensity of the labor. A miniature society operating like a biological air conditioning plant, working day and night just to push every last water molecule out of the system. And when the water level drops beneath the survival threshold of bacteria, honey transforms into something entirely different. It is no longer sugar water. It becomes a hostile environment, a chemical desert where life struggles to exist. Imagine a tiny bacterium, lost and falling into a jar of honey. It thinks it has discovered an endless buffet. Sugar everywhere, energy overflowing. But reality isn't that kind. Honey with less than 18% water is a supersaturated solution. Think of it as a room filled with dry sponges. Each sugar molecule acts like a hyper-absorbent sponge, constantly thirsty for moisture. The moment bacteria make contact, everything happens instantly. Water inside their cells, the very thing that keeps them alive, gets pulled outward through osmosis. Here's a simple image. Imagine you are a water balloon surrounded by millions of dry sponges. Those sponges will pull water from you until you collapse. That is the fate of bacteria. No biting, no smashing, just dehydration to death. And this still isn't the final blow. If anything stubborn manages to survive the dry environment, honey has two more layers of defense waiting. During nectar processing, bees don't just cut sugars and remove water. Another enzyme converts glucose into gluconic acid. The result, honey's pH drops to around 3 to 4. Woo! To put that into perspective, that's roughly as acidic as diluted lemon juice. Bacteria dislike acidic environments. Their cell walls resemble brick structures. And acid acts like a constant corrosive rain, weakening those defenses. But even then, honey keeps one last card: hidden hydrogen peroxide. Yes, the same compound you've seen bubbling white when applied to wounds. Inside honey, it forms slowly, in low but steady doses enough to cause antimicrobial damage without destroying the entire structure. Imagine a room that's dry like a desert, sour like lemon, and filled with floating antiseptic molecules. That's the dead zone you just stirred into your tea, and with that, the system is complete. A multi-layered defense molecules cut into smaller forms. Water stripped away. Intruders dehydrated. Corroded by acid. And finally sterilized by peroxide. No explosions. No flames. Just cold. Precise design. Greatness isn't about size. It's about the density of design. A single spoon of honey carries millions of years of evolution, thousands of hours of labor from an insect society, and a chemical toolkit sophisticated enough to impress modern laboratories. So next time you call honey a gift from nature, remember, it's bee sweat, acid, antiseptic chemistry, and ruthless biological engineering encoded in DNA. Do you want us to keep dissecting the silent killer machines hiding in your kitchen? Hit subscribe and leave a comment, because right now, on your spice shelf, you might be living among masterpieces you've never truly understood.